Don't forget to roll call in minutes.
It is 6 o'clock. We are going to call this meeting to order. If I could ask Isaac and Adrian Brown to come up and lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance, and if I could ask all of you to stand for it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Help you come up here real quickly. I want to present each of you with one of the lapel pins, the official seal of Hernando. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for leading us to the pledge. Alderman Miller, could you lead our invocation?
Okay. Heavenly Father, we first come to say we'll thank you for this day that you allowed us to witness, and we realize that we will never witness it again. We ask you, Heavenly Father, to give us the wisdom to make decisions for this city, and that you be satisfied with our decision. Then, Lord, we thank you for the opportunity you've given each and every one of us to serve in whatever capacity it might be. And Lord, we ask for a special blessing on tonight on our youth that's in attendance on tonight. Lead, guide, and direct their paths. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Before we approve the agenda, I do want to recognize that we have some extra people in attendance tonight. Under the tutelage of Scott Smith, we have the Mayor's Youth Council, a big group of them, not all of them. If y'all would stand up so we can take note that you are here. And we fully expect y'all to be taking our places sitting up here one day. That's the goal. So thank y'all for being here tonight, and I hope y'all get something out of the meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, item 4 is to approve the amended agenda.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 5 is to approve the docket of claims.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 6 is the approval to pay Fuel Man $18,923.35 that did not meet the claims docket deadline.
So move.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 7 is a motion to approve the minutes from the regular Mayor and Board of Aldermen meeting of December 3rd.
Motion to approve.
Second.
So motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ross.
Aye.
Alderman Piper.
Abstain.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
The motion passes. Item 8 is a motion on the consent agenda. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. The motion passes. Item 9, can I have a motion on the donations docket?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 10 is a special proclamation we have this evening honoring Lieutenant Commander Lee Edward Evans upon his retirement from the United States Navy Submarine Service. And I'm going to read this proclamation. Lieutenant Commander Evans is sitting here with his family, and after we read the proclamation, if y'all would come up, we'd like to do a group photo with you. So this is an official City of Hernando proclamation honoring Lieutenant Commander Lee Edward Evans. Whereas Lieutenant Commander Lee Edward Evans joined the United States Navy in May of 1998 in Chalmette, Louisiana at the age of 17. And whereas he spent 13 years enlisted as a yeoman on 3 nuclear submarines, including the USS Minneapolis St. Paul, USS Texas, and USS Norfolk. And whereas he earned the distinct rank of Navy Chief Petty Officer just 3 years before being commissioned as a Naval Submarine Officer in January of 2011. And whereas his duties in this role included serving in various staff assignments on the CVN-69 Dwight D. Eisenhower and Submarine Development Squadron 5, Executive Officer of the Naval Submarine Support Center in Kings Bay, Georgia, 2 tours at Navy Personnel Command in Millington, Tennessee, and a final deployment to Djibouti, Africa just this past year. And whereas on January 1st, 2025, Lieutenant Commander Lee Edward Evans will retire from the United States Armed Forces having devoted 26 years to the Naval Submarine Service and to the safety and security of this great country of the United States of America. And now, therefore, I, Chip Johnson, Mayor of the City of Hernando, and a fellow United States submarine veteran, on behalf of the Board of Aldermen, together with our city and citizens, do hereby wish to honor retiring Lieutenant Commander Lee Edward Evans, resident of Hernando, for his service to the United States of America. Nestor, can you take a photo? Or Austin? Austin, you want to get a photo? I'm going to present you with this. Thank you, sir. Everybody squeeze in a little. Yeah, can y'all get right in the middle? All right. Got it. Thank you for your service, sir. Thank you. Y'all are not required to sit through the whole meeting if y'all need to go home.
Hey, Chad, I started to scratch something in the letter, but I just let it go though.
Thank y'all.
In the last sentence, so we'll let that go tonight.
Item 11 is the approval of election consultant agreement with David Ross for the 2025 municipal election services. Is there a motion on that item?
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Either way.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 12 is the approval of the elections cost listed on the cost sheet.
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 13 is the approval to advertise the Mackinville Overlay MPO project with the number listed pending MDOT approval. We're just trying to get ahead of this. Austin just wants us to be ready for me to sign this and advertise it as soon as possible. Can I have a motion on that item?
Motion.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The motion passes. Item 14 is an update and a request on the Commerce Street, I'm sorry, this is just an update. On the Commerce Street Mackinville intersection improvements, Lee Jeremy is going to do that for us. We know this is something that has been budgeted, and Lee is going to update us on where we are in the status.
Thank you.
Afternoon, Board. That intersection, we've had quite a time with it. So lightning struck it a couple times. So we've had some rental controllers in there until ours can be repaired. And as you know, the pavement is grooving pretty bad. And what that does is it breaks the magnetic strip that tells a car, or tells the red light, hey, a car's here. So we've been fighting that for quite some time, and then DeSoto Electric's been extremely busy. That's who we like to use for all of our red lights. That's who built all of our red lights. So we like to use them. Before you'll see on the first page here is a quote for the repairs. It gets a little confusing. So the total quote number on the first page in the middle of the page is for our adding another traffic lane turning left or west onto Commerce, which we wanted to do this year regardless, and last year. And then skip on down, and to install one loop, which is the magnetic field that I was telling you guys about, is $2,916. The total less loop, and then you've got an additional adder work down here, which would be to provide a camera system It's not literally a camera system. It monitors the cars wirelessly coming up to the intersection. The reason I wanted them to quote it this way was if we do replace the magnetic strips in the asphalt right now, we're gonna have to do a complete overlay of that intersection first. So that's an added additional cost, plus the striping, and then the loops have to be put in. At this, I'm not saying we let it go, but at this point, we would only have to do the traffic cameras at that intersection at this price. As you can see, the $2,916 has been subtracted down at the bottom, and then the adder work and the total quote with cameras would be $64,780. So that would be adding the additional lane and also putting the camera system on that intersection. No matter what condition our pavement is in the future, it will always work, unless something, of course, goes out.
Isn't the one in front of Kroger there at East Parkway and Commerce, doesn't it run on with a camera system?
It doesn't.
Okay, I thought I saw a camera on there. Do we have any that run on one right now?
We've got radar detectors on the one, the new one that they put at 69 and Mackinville. And then the next page over, 2 pages rather, is just to replace the loops as is. So you would add an additional paving cost on top of that, along with the striping cost, along with if we decided to go that route, to add the additional turning lane going west onto Commerce. It's kind of confusing, the way the quote is designed and drawn up, but if you look at the numbers, it'll simplify itself there.
And when can they do this work if we do the camera?
So 26 to 28 week lead time on the material, unfortunately.
Wow.
It's a long time. A long time.
6 months, okay.
The way the traffic signal is operating right now is just on a schedule. It doesn't care if anybody's there, doesn't care if anybody's turning, but it does function. It's a little inconvenient if nobody's coming from Walmart. You still have to wait on that turn arrow, but it does function.
You indicated you had budgeted for this. How much did you budget for this item?
We just budgeted for the additional turning lane. We did not budget
How
for,
much is that?
well, I think it's 28,246.
So it's going to be two left turning lanes, and you can only go left, and one will go straight on
I
Mackinville.
believe that was designed. It's been a long time since we.
Yeah, the design that was done by Wagner Engineering shows 2 dedicated left turn lanes.
And
then
one-
one that'll go straight or right.
Okay, that's what I
It's
thought.
getting more needed by the day.
It's very bad
You'll
over
see
there.
cars stacked up 25 deep waiting to get, it'll take 3 turns to get through there.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad just trying to get to turn left, and then you've got other people trying to get into the lane to go into Walmart. So it's near accidents all the time.
We've been fighting it pretty constantly also, because folks will call and say the turning lane is not long enough, because it's also, like I said, it's running on a timer. It's not long enough. Well, then somebody will call and say, well, it's too long. So we shorten it. So finally, we just found a happy medium, and we just have to leave it there.
My question is money. It's money. At the end of the day, it's money. And we're talking about 28 weeks before you even get, 28 weeks before you even get the material.
Yes, sir.
So it can't be a major hindrance. It's gonna be 28 weeks before we get the parts. And so we just really into this budget year, and we already, looking at some expenses that we wasn't looking at already. And so to try to add additional expenditure to that department right now, to me, is unwise and not good management and not good stewards of the money that we have. Because I know it'll be more convenience, but where do we take convenience with money?
So, I'm sorry.
I mean, I have a problem with additional funding and money, and then we're talking about 28 weeks. How many weeks in the year?
52.
Oh, that's over half a year, ain't it? We ready to go into another budget term, so that means that we could put that into another budget, in my opinion.
So, I'm sorry, what did you say the budget was for this?
Roughly 28 is what we have for,
246.
to realign the intersection,
That's what, okay.
adding another turning lane.
So, I mean, we can always add cameras later, right?
We can add
I
that at
mean,
any time.
that's
Yes, ma'am.
not like so I mean, we could move forward with the turn lane in the budgeted amount, and then if we feel like cameras I mean, it might be better to see how that works before we spend money on cameras anyway.
Well, like I said, it's only gonna work on a schedule right now only.
Yeah.
And if the board's okay with that, then
Could we put up the extra turn lane signal and run that on the schedule?
yes,
And not put the wires under the ground or do the cameras?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so. I'll have to
I
verify
think that's
that.
what Alderwoman
Yeah,
Lynch was
that's what I'm
recommending.
saying, like, let's see how the second turn lane goes on a schedule, and then we
Yeah,
can look
I
at,
can
and then
get
we
them
may be
to-
in the next budget year.
I can get them to requote this price without adding the magnetic strips in it, and just do the striping and put it on a timer
If we're not using the magnetic strips now.
or not.
I'm just thinking too, I know the county has a project to extend commerce all the way to Jaybird Road.
They do.
I don't know the timing of that or when that's going to be completed. I don't know. If we can get an answer to that, that's going to change the traffic patterns completely for that intersection, because the people that are coming up Mackinville are coming from Jefferson Estates and all these other neighborhoods, and they're going to have the option to go up Jaybird to Commerce to get to Walmart now. So that's going to change a lot of things, and it may be wise for us to see what kind of impact that has before we alter the intersection, and then it may not be necessary potentially.
Well, the Jaybird Holly Springs intersection is dangerous already. So cutting across, because I live out there, cutting across Holly Springs is treacherous because you've got a little bit of a slight hill when you're looking east across from where Jefferson is. So I don't know how many people will use that. I think it will be utilized, but we've got to have, the county needs to put some traffic signal or something other than a flashing light and a two-way stop in that four-way
And I think
intersection
Jaybird and Holly Springs is in the planning
for the
stage
county.
for the county to do something to that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're going to do. I don't know if they're going to put a traffic signal there, if they're going to put a roundabout. I don't know what they're going to do. They
I don't
haven't
think
told.
they've fully studied it and came
Yeah.
up with that answer yet.
Right, but I mean, it's just a dangerous intersection to go across Jaybird. I mean, go Jaybird across Holly Springs to try to match up. So it really just depends on what time of the day.
So I've got a question for you, Lee. If we just asked them to go ahead and put up the extra signal, do the extra turn lane, what kind of timeline would they be on to do that?
I don't know. I need to ask them. They may have some of that stuff in stock.
Because it'd basically be a light
That's it.
and the wire to get it over to the control box.
That's it.
Okay.
Yep. I could ask them. I could for sure ask them. I know the camera stuff they don't have, just because it's so expensive to keep on hand. But the traffic signal and stuff, they might.
So is it the cameras that are basically 6 months? That's the 6-month holdup is the cameras?
I mean, it could be the lights too. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know. They just said on there.
okay.
And to kind of give some backstory on this, what prompted all this is, we had the traffic study done. They suggested another lane. We got DeSoto Electric to come out and quote that, which they gave us a quote then. But they also discovered all these other things wrong that we run in like it's supposed to, or we thought it was supposed to.
So, go ahead, Alderman.
This is just really just an update, I'd call it an update in discussion stage right now, so I think we're gonna I think we're gonna kick the bucket enough tonight to just let them go back and get some more information and come back instead of just continue to do it,
do
this
that.
tonight.
I'll have some at the next meeting.
Anybody have any other questions before we move on to the next item? Okay,
Thank you, Lee.
thank you, Lee.
Thank
Okay, item 15 is an update on the Pleasant Hill-Mackinville intersection improvements. and a discussion of possibly entering an MOU with the county. The county has, as y'all know, y'all authorized us to work with the county and allocated money for a temporary signal in the budget. The county is working on the temporary signal, but in the meantime, the wrecks are happening so frequently, they've asked Wagner to engineer a very temporary stop sign situation. They'll do a little bit of work out there. They will put signs ahead of the intersection to talk about that you're coming up on a four-way stop. There will be solar-powered stop signs with the lights all the way around them to garner attention. And it's about a $16,000 or $17,000 project. We want to split that with them. That will probably take an MOU that the county is going to draw up. So that's first step, and they think they can get that done in about 6 weeks or less. The next step will be the temporary hanging wire traffic signal. They'll have to do some lane improvements there. We're hoping to have that done by April. And at the same time, the overall intersection traffic study is ongoing for the permanent design of what's going to happen there. So if we can do a quick MOU to work with the county on the stop signs, we'll get that done as quickly as possible while the county is still working towards hanging the temporary traffic signal.
It's amazing, man. I got a call last week and was told about the four-way stop sign. I said, it's amazing that it's already out there and we don't know nothing about it. It just really amazed me. You know, so I'm gonna start talking to the residents instead of waiting on. I'm serious. I mean,
I think a lot of that happened after our last board meeting when so many people came and talked about the wrecks, and a wreck happened that night.
But I'm talking about,
the county jumped on it.
But somebody informing the residents about it.
The county did.
It wasn't a county person. I'll leave it at that.
It what?
I think another wreck has happened since.
I had 3 of them. I got
Yeah,
pictures.
there's another wreck that's happened since.
Anyway, though, good information.
Would y'all make a motion for us to enter into an MOU if necessary to get the stop signs put up and do our half cost share?
So moved.
So moved.
Yeah.
The motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no.
Could
That
you,
motion
could you,
passes.
could you provide, well, I want one, could you provide me with a written timeline on the proposed deadline that we have, because too many of them residents is calling, and I want to be able to share with them
I'll
what's
see-
the tentative timeline on things happening.
I'll see if I can
I
get
know
Wagner
Ben
and Bob
probably getting
Jarman
the
to email
same
us
call, so
tomorrow.
we can all be, you know, sharing with the residents the same thing.
Got it. I'll try to get that out tomorrow if I can get that information. All right. Item 16 is discussion on MPO projects in the next TIP cycle. Supervisor Lee Caldwell called me about a week ago, and we're going to be talking about Getwell Road. The MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, gets a new pot of money every 4 years, and they call it the TIP cycle. And the TIP cycle will have a new pot of money for DeSoto County exclusively. What the supervisors are proposing and what they talked about in their board meeting yesterday was to work on Getwell from the point up north where South Haven has stopped. You know, they've done a lot of improvements on Getwell. The South Haven portion and the county portion would be to come down to Pleasant Hill with a 5-lane cross section and finish that out. The intersection is already being done with MPO money. You can't see any work there, but it's allocated money is being engineered for a traffic signal there. Then what we would be talking about as a board is following that on down to I-269 with a 5-lane cross section. That portion is about $9 million. That's 80% funded by the MPO, and there's usually a 20% match for the city. What the county is proposing is they will do 10% of that and we'll do 10%. So it would probably be money we would have to come up with in about 4 to 5 years realistically, because that's how long these projects take. So we would be on the hook for about $900,000, and we would end up with a rural cross-section 5-lane road from Pleasant Hill to Getwell. So all we're asking is that you would allow us to apply for it, because it is competitive. DeSoto County cities would apply for these things. The county would be the lead on this. They would apply, we would enter into an MOU with them, and they would just run the whole project. We would just be on the hook for our 10%. When the MPO scores them and judges them, then they will tell us if we were awarded that. So I just wanted to get that in front of y'all and see if y'all think that's a good use of the money. It seems like it is to me, but there are 7 other people here with opinions, so I wanted to ask y'all about that, but I am recommending it.
No, I think it's a great project.
Sounds good.
Hey, you know, my opinion is we ought to take it all the way to Byhalia.
I wish the money was there.
I understand it's a money issue, but
I agree with you.
maybe over the next 4 years, we can find the money to do
That's right.
that.
But I think this would show that we are trying to get ahead of our growth and get the roads in place for the anticipated. We know things are going to happen on Getwell when that intersection's improved and when things start happening there around that Getwell intersection. So I think it would be a good project for us to take on.
So timeline-wise, it's applied for, and then I know that we're still saying 4 or 5 years out, whatever it may be. When would we know that the funding is going to be available?
Could you answer that, Austin?
Yes, sir. So the application's due on the 20th. Usually with the new year, the MPO has to meet the first part of that quarter of the new year. And so we won't officially know until the MPO votes on it. So usually about March, we would know for certain if it's going to be programmed into the tip.
I think one thing we need to consider is if that's the route we're going to go, which I'm not against that, but one thing that's really, really way long past due is the extending a sewer to that part of the city because it was annexed in so many years ago. We certainly don't want to spend $9 million to pave 5 lanes and then chew it all up trying to put sewer in later or whatever it is. So I think it's going to put us on an expedited timeline to get sewer extended to that area,
And we
or to
can-
have a plan to lay pipe there, whatever needs to happen.
That's absolutely a good point, and we'll make sure through the engineering process that they take into account leaving good utility easements and also, if need be, going ahead and putting sleeves underneath the road
Okay.
so the pipe could be run under there. Do I have a motion to enter into the MOU or just to go ahead and apply with the county? I guess we would enter into the MOU later, but to apply with the county right now.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 17, PL 1850. Austin, if you would present this is the Anderson C4 request for rezoning of 4.51 acres from A to C4.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1850. As you mentioned, it's a request to go the C4 on 4.51 acres at the northwest corner of Getwell and I-269, Section 33, Township 2, Range 7 West. Jody Neiman is here tonight representing Arthur Anderson, the owner of the property. There is a description of the C4 planned commercial district in your staff report, but basically what this is a PUD, commercially oriented. So it's required to have building elevations, permitted uses, a site plan, all of which is included in your staff report. But the C4, this plan would govern this parcel if approved tonight. There's a short description of the future land use plan. This parcel as a whole is split between mixed use and activity master plan commercial. The piece that this 4.5 acres is located on is primarily centered on the activity master plan commercial. A full description of that is listed in your staff report. That generally this is intended to be efficient and attractive, ideal for uses like big box retail, restaurants, office parks, and hotels. And C4 is a recommended zoning district in that future land use plan. For the record, the 3 approval or denial criteria, I'll read these for the record. How this proposed amendment conforms to the general development plan, why this existing zoning district classification of the property is inappropriate or improper, and that major economic, physical, or social changes, if any, have occurred in the vicinity of the property in question that were not anticipated by the general development plan and have substantially altered the basic character of the area, which makes the proposed amendment to the zoning district map appropriate. And so the applicant did provide responses to each of those in the first 2 pages of the exhibit behind my staff report tonight. With this being a C4 plan commercial, as I mentioned, this does govern the architecture, site plan, and arrangement of the buildings for the property. The next step would be a certificate of development and a subdivision application if approved. This was heard by the Planning Commission last week, recommended for denial on a 3-to-1 vote. With that adverse report, a supermajority vote is needed for approval tonight. I did provide proposed motions to approve, deny, or table in the staff report, centered on that 3 zoning approval denial criteria. And a little bit about the plan. The primary use is a convenience store with fuel pumps. The original application includes a dedicated diesel aisle on the west side of the site. Mr. Naaman did bring in a revised exhibit. He's going to pass out here in just a second. But the original proposal had 6 fueling queues for diesel. And Mr. Naaman is proposing to reduce that to 3. And he's going to introduce that as part of the application here in a second. The other pumps on the north side of the site are proposed to be gas only. There are items in the staff report that limit the size of the fueling nozzles for the diesel. And again, Mr. Naaman will kind of explain that a little bit more in detail. The idea would be to limit some of the freight movements. That was some of the concern of the Planning Commission. The landscape plan is in your staff report, but would be subject to full design review if we get to that point. And the building elevations are also included in your staff report for review. I did include maps to show the surrounding zonings and the surrounding parcel maps. And as I mentioned, the Planning Commission did recommend this for denial at last Tuesday night's meeting. Mr. Naaman's here representing the application, and I'm available if you've got any questions.
Any questions for Austin before Mr. Naaman comes up? Okay.
I get, also, one thing, as we're reading through the report, that it did state, in the thing that was strictly prohibited, correct?
Yes,
Because I
sir.
think that was a concern,
Yes.
and I was reading another, I'll get the language right. Use strictly prohibit, that's in item C. It said truck stop, shower, large diesel nozzle, overnight, and extended parking. All things like that in the proposed, condition would be strictly prohibited. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's
Okay, I want, make sure that's part of the record.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jody Naaman. I'm with the firm Palmetry, Naaman and Jolly, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Anderson regarding this rezoning. As Austin stated, based upon some input we received back from the Planning Commission at the meeting, the original proposal was for 6 pass-through diesel lanes, and we've reduced that down to 3. And I'm going to hand out the revised plan for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this application is for the rezoning from a C4. As stated, the proposed amendment would conform to the general development plan. This is the overall original site. We've gone primarily, it's over 80% brick. Simply put, there's going to be 4 pumps on the side, and we've changed it over to 3 diesel pumps on the northbound side. If you note about the design, after looking at the aerial on the west side, there is limited area for trucks to park. Basically, we have limited where large vehicles could park long-term. The main thing we need to stress here, this is a travel center, this is not a truck stop. There's a specific restriction and a prohibited use of overnight parking. There are no showers, and Mr. Croonan, the project engineer, will briefly relay to the board the no parking plan. If we would go to the plat itself, that would be number 2. The overall view. Slow. go to page 7. That's an overall view. Now, if you would note on the site plan, I've provided you with a, on the northbound side, we've gone from 7 to 3 on the diesel pumps. The design is basically simply put, the traffic would hit in on the northbound incoming traffic and outflow. And what the main reason why we're doing that is to make sure the traffic flow for vehicles refueling will be back toward 269 and away from Getwell Road. Overall, the C4 purpose is to provide for modern, attractive, and efficient retail. And since we're at 269 and Getwell, this is a main arterial road which meets that. Right now, according to MDOT's maps, I-269 at that location has 33,000 after trips per day. Getwell has 6,400. The landscape and buffer is extremely compatible and pleasing. We have over 80% brick, and we again are reducing it. Due to the layout of the parcel, there is no place for the on-site long-term extending parking. But what this does here, by having this design, establishes a standard for a location or other like facilities along I-269. So simply put, this is very much a design I'm trying to think when you go into Madison or into those gas stations like that. It's more of a front door of Hernando. This is an upscale community. We're having a high-scale place here. The existing zoning district classification is improper. This was zoned AR before the city was annexed 2 years ago, and we're an intercontinental interstate. Traffic is coming from Mexico to Canada, and this is a main traffic thoroughfare, and there is a need for diesel refueling along I-269. In recent rezonings, within a 1 mile difference, there's the collections at Getwell, which is a planned unit development, commercial. At C2, within 2 miles, within 3 miles, we have an M1 with Associated Wholesale Grocers. There is a lack of fuel service in the area, and there shows a public need for it. The city does not want a truck stop, and this is not a truck stop. One thing that the city can do by approving this C4, it will create a precedent for similar designs for similar locations. As the growth improves in this area, it's going to come. This is a first step, and what it does, it establishes a precedent for the location of these facilities north of I-269, away from the city center. It establishes a higher level of design for the facilities. It raises the development costs for these types. This is not a truck stop. We have lessened the number of diesel islands. But there is people need diesel in this area. There's still ag business here in this area. Tractors need to be refueled, RVs, and we do have increased commercial traffic. We're having over 2,000 trucks come through here today based upon Associated Wholesale Grocers being here. So there's a definite need. By approving a C4, you set a standard, a high standard, that makes it harder for someone with a pilot to get a general C2 zoning. So that helps close the door for larger truck stop developments. Nick Cronin's here to speak a little bit about our drainage issue, any questions you may have regarding drainage, utilities, and also he's going to discuss briefly the no traffic parking plan here.
Hello. Nicholas Cronin with Civil Lake Engineering. Just want to touch on a few things. As y'all know, this property doesn't have water and sewer extended to it, so there was a few things that we put in the project text to make sure we cover that. The project would have on-site sewer, but it would be temporary. What I mean by temporary is in the text, we have it clearly stated that as upon the city extending sewer services to this property, it is the responsibility of the property, as well as water with not having protection, fire protection at this moment. Any work that would need to be done as far as wells or temporary tanks to provide to meet code for this property, they are willing to do that as well. One thing that we did do on the no truck parking, not only did we look at it from a stance of put it in the project text that is strictly prohibited, but what I'm calling it is an anti-trucking parking site plan. We ran a turn-in software throughout the site with the trucks through the diesel aisles, and we shrunk the parking lot down to only what is necessary. So you can see on the south side, can you bring up the site plan? You can see on the south side how that curb is not straight and it's a bump in closer. And then on the west side or east side along Getwell, you can see where the curb radius is out and back in. So we bumped it out just where a truck needs it for turning movement, but we did not bump out the entire aisleway to where you end up with an extra 10, 12 feet that will allow for a semi-truck to park and still allow flow. So basically in our design, if a truck parks, he's going to block the flow of traffic. Thus, somebody from the store is going to come out and tell him to move. So those were the three main things we wanted to hit on in our design. Were water, sewer, and no truck parking. If there's any questions y'all have, I'll be glad to answer them. Does the board have any questions for Jody or Nick?
On the is that future road, I guess, cutting in there off of Getwell? How many feet approximately is that from the traffic signal?
From the traffic signal, I don't know the exact footage. I think it's about 600-700-ish, but don't quote me on that exact term.
Okay. And then when you're saying that when the utilities are extended, are you saying that when they're extended to the back property line of this entire long stretch of parcel, or all the way to the?
All the way up to the front, to this parcel. Because this one project wouldn't be able to sustain the cost of extending back to the backside of the Andersons' property. But upon the Andersons' property continuing to be developed out, of course, they would have to connect up at their expense.
As far as I know, the closest sewer is right there at the high school, right? Correct?
That's correct. Any other questions from the board? Okay. If not, is there anyone here to speak on this topic?
John Stevenson, 1589 Johnston Road, Hernando. Mr. Mayor, Board of Aldermen, thank you for allowing me to speak. I'm involved with some projects around here, and frankly, I live just down the road from this project, probably about approximately a mile south. And if I had to sum up this project in one word, I call it risky. Yes, you know, Mr. Naaman at the board of the Planning Commission showed us a graphic of how the trucks would come in off the interstate, cycle through, and exit, and on a two-lane road. I noticed that he didn't show that graphic tonight. And at the Planning Commission, he talked about how they anticipated 200 semis a day from AWG being able to refuel at this. And what I would say is, and while we all hope that the MPO approves the application to 5-lane Getwell, that kind of traffic and that size of traffic on this road at this time is risky. And they talk about it's not a truck stop because it doesn't have showers and it doesn't have parking. The problem with that is, if anybody that drives by that area any day, you see trucks parked on the exits with people sleeping in them every single day, up and down the entrance ramp, up and down the exit ramp. Having a fueling station there for them, specifically designed for tractor trailers, is going to encourage that more than it already is. Again, I say that's risky. And then finally, what I would say is this. I actually think this is a good place for a convenience store. But I think the entire property needs to be zoned at the same time with a master plan development, with the road the sewer and the public utilities all planned for, even if it's not put in at the beginning, for a long-term plan, because when you tend to ad hoc things at this kind of location, you tend to get an ad hoc result. Again, I say it's risky. So I love the Andersons, they're great people. I would love to see this area developed. I would love to see it developed in a more competent, stable, certain way rather than an ad hoc, risky way. And thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Board. My name is Bryce Dickerson. I'm a resident at 900 Getwell Road, which is directly across the street from this proposal. I want to talk two points, really. One being with the current infrastructure. My dad is in logistics for a chemical company, and if we are suggesting about 200 to 250 new semi-trucks on the Getwell Road, one tractor trailer is 80,000 pounds. And if you're multiplying that times 200, 250, that's 20 million pounds that Getwell Road is not used to. So I think with the 5-lane addition, it would be a great place. But in the current state, I think that this is a very unwise thing to kind of propose simply due to the infrastructure of Getwell Road itself. Secondly, with me being a resident across the street from this, the speed at the top of that hill is vastly unmonitored, but it's getting better with Hernando PD kind of parking right at the church of, at the bottom of that hill. But I kind of want to talk about safety as my second point. If you have a tractor trailer who is stopped waiting to turn into this, and it is literally weighed down with 80,000 pounds worth of goods, and you have a truck or another vehicle or another tractor trailer weighing down with 80,000 pounds at the top of this hill, it is going to be very difficult for that to come to a direct halt if another tractor trailer is trying to get into this location. It takes approximately 10 to 15 minutes to fill a diesel semi-truck, and with 3 tanks, you're talking about either A, that always stays busy to where you're going to back up traffic waiting for another tractor trailer to get into a pump, or you're going to constantly have a constant, I guess what I'm trying to say is just a constant flow of traffic that, again, Getwell has not seen. You open yourself up to safety liabilities, and, just as John said, I think that, risky is the correct word for this program. I'm a local business owner. I'm a resident of the city of Hernando. I want to see our community. I want to see our local business community grow. I just think that this is the wrong time to kind of promote this with this proposal. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I think I saw someone over on the, yes. We'll get to you. We'll make you next.
This will be, I know when people pull out a piece of paper, it's not going to be drawn out, I promise. Real quick, it's just this, what my thoughts that I put together today on this project.
Could you state your name and address?
Oh, I apologize. Bartlett Graves, 1775 Clare Circle South, Hernando, Mississippi. So this is just the thoughts that I've collected throughout the day thinking about this project. Hernando is a beautiful city, and I'm very proud to call it home. For several decades, many aldermen, as yourself, have sat in this position and worked diligently to maintain a high standard for this community. They've shared a vision for a future to ensure our city remains beautiful, vibrant, and welcoming. As someone who's worked in real estate, I've seen firsthand how the decisions made in this room have shaped Hernando into a popular destination for families from all over the country to buy homes and raise their children. However, as we all experience on a daily basis, just driving on Commerce Street to and from work, our city is growing, and it's getting more crowded. With the addition of a beautiful new high school, even more families will be encouraged to move here and call Hernando home. With growth comes the need for continual residential and commercial development. And with development, we rely heavily on materials being transported in, something that doesn't happen without our essential drivers. I know everyone has a deep appreciation for the drivers who travel our roads every day to maintain the way of life we enjoy. At the same time, we've all worked hard to ensure Hernando does not become a truck stop. That is not our goal here. Our livelihood depends on maintaining the high standards that makes the city such a desirable place to live and work. But as we continue to grow, it's important to address the needs of our essential workers, RVs, and heavy equipment operators. They require a convenient, well-designed place to fuel up, grab a quick meal, get back on the road, and keep our economy moving. The proposal also addresses a very real need for the area. Currently, the only places to get fuel along I-69 outside of Marshall County are on Craft Road and Highway 301. Regular diesel engine trucks don't have anywhere in DeSoto County to refuel off I-69. The gas station will fill this critical gap, providing a much-needed service that will preserve the integrity and character of Hernando. It was carefully designed to meet the same high standards that have worked so well for cities like Madison, Mississippi off I-55. This is not a truck stop. It's a top-tier fuel station, offers convenience for essential drivers while supporting the economic growth of our community. And another thing I would just state, I keep hearing about trucks being on the side of the road, and I could be wrong. Like I said, I have no idea, but I really feel like that's something that the police force should try to prevent from happening regardless, because I do not want to see that either. And we are certainly not trying to hinder or hurt anybody's property value. We certainly recognize that the people that living in that community, I would be hesitant as well. But all we're trying to do is just trying to help the economic growth of this community with a very high standard fueling station that we will be proud of and that will set a standard for the rest of the growth in that area that is to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
1775 Claire Circle South.
Not yet, well,
No, sir.
okay, thank you.
I live in Hernando.
Right. My name is Mike Wiseman. I live at 1100 Getwell, Nesbit, Mississippi. We were annexed in 2008, but we still have the Nesbit address. Myself, my brother, and all that whole back row, we all live on Getwell Road, right across from where this thing's proposed. And I'm here to tell you, we've got a traffic problem now already. It takes us forever to get out on Getwell Road out of our driveways. And we're exactly 1,500 feet from 269 interchange. And I don't think I can add a whole lot to what everybody else has said, except for, yeah, we are concerned about our property values. And because it's no doubt that, and whether it's a convenience store or a truck stop, wherever it is, it's going to have an effect on our property values. Because we do not have the infrastructure yet. We don't have the sewer, the trunk line sewer, so that our property is just as valuable as this. The other thing that I just am really concerned about is that they say they're going to put the water in temporary. We already have water out there. I mean, we're on city water. So I suppose that we just don't have the capacity in our water system to take care of this.
Yeah, I think a building like that requires firefighting water at a higher level, and they'd have to put in extra capacity for the firefighting water.
Yeah. Well, so that's temporary, and we're already talking about 5 years to get Getwell Road expanded. How long is it going to be? How long are they going to be on this temporary situation? Because I got news for you. Water treatment facilities don't last forever. I've been through two, or my family's been through two. I'm 67 years old. This is our family property. So that concerns me. But the biggest thing is the property values and the traffic. And I'm going to tell you, we live out there, and since I-69's come through, we've had people get dropped off. We had some folks got dropped off at 3 o'clock in the morning the other night. I mean, it's just stuff like that, vagrants, just people just, on our property for some reason. I guess because a wide spot in our driveway's wide. But we had people come up to the house at 1 o'clock in the morning, knocking on the door, stuff like that. This ain't gonna do nothing but bring more of that. And to this gentleman's point, yeah, they're parking up and down the exits and entrances to the highway. I mean, they're everywhere. The other thing is that they say it's not a truck stop, and they've narrowed it down to make it look good, And I'm in the fuel and oil business. I promise you, the farmers I service,
They don't go up there and get fuel. I deliver it to them. But, so that, as far as tractors and agriculture, they're not gonna go up there. But truck drivers are a different breed. If they won't park up there, they gonna park up there. And there ain't nothing you can do about it. That's just the way they are. You know, I appreciate, we're all against it. It's right across the road. It's gonna be a noise, problem, the smell, the noise, and the traffic. And, the other thing is that right there in front of it, MDOT has to widen that part. They have to improve that, not the city of Hernando, because that's theirs. That's their easement or their right of way right there. So there's some things that need to be in place before this goes forward. Number one, MDOT needs to be contacted to be sure they're gonna do their part in widening that road. A plan for the sewer and a plan to widen that road. And I understand we've got the road plan sort of working. But, anyway, I appreciate y'all's time, and, we're against it.
Thank you, Mr. Wiseman. Who else would like to speak? Yes.
Hey, Board, Mayor, it's Lauren McClendon. I live at 193 Palmer Cove. I'm a little bit down the road from where this intersection is. I don't want to just rehash things that have already been said, but looking at intentional and long-term growth for our city, I don't think this is the right time to do something like this. I can certainly appreciate that there's a need for diesel fuel in the area. I work for a chemical company with over 100 trucks that are on the road all the time. We need places to refuel. Companies like mine will always go to an actual truck stop because we get gas cards at those and get those discounts. I can appreciate that they've taken the number of pumps down to have it not be an actual like truck stop and more of a travel center, but I think this is something that could be postponed to a later date so we have a better plan for everything to be done with that piece of property. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir.
Lee Anderson, 246 Chilahoma Road, Hernando. I guess just going to rebut a few of these statements. Some comments about sewer and water. Just because there's not sewer and water, we should not be denied the ability to develop the property. I mean, there's businesses all over Mississippi that don't have sewer. There's more that don't than do. It's more common to not have sewer. The water situation, the same thing. People drill wells where there's not community water. I don't see where that was an issue to anybody, and it shouldn't be a hindrance to our development. And there's a lot of talk of this 4 and 5 years. We shouldn't be required to wait 4 and 5 years to develop our property. When there's alternatives that we can do now. There's some talk about the trucks. Everybody said the sky was falling when AWG came to town. The truck's going to burn everything. Well, I live right there, and I'm on 51, and I'm on 69 in McAville, and I'm on 55. I don't even see a difference, to be honest. And I'm there constantly throughout the day. I think by cutting this down to 6 pumps instead of 3, yeah, you may have 200 trucks a day coming through, whatever that number is. They're going to realize pretty quick that that's probably not the best place for all these big trucks to go through. If there's that much demand, then it's going to be too crowded and they're going to go somewhere else. But there are people with RVs, there's construction people, there's the landscape, there's all these guys out here hauling skid steers and mini-X doing all kind of construction work. These people need a place where they can pull in safely with a trailer behind their vehicle and fuel these mostly small 3/4, 1 ton diesel pickups, bob trucks hauling a skid steer. There's a demand, people with a diesel truck pulling their ski boat. There's a way better place to have an opportunity to go fuel where there's a easier way to get in and out, and there's a nice store that's well designed. There was one that, and obviously the traffic is a concern, it always is a concern, but that portion of the road was built to the state standards. It's already wide enough to handle the distance that is so short. And I can't see where these would be an impediment to this plan. So I just Appreciate y'all's time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Would anyone else like to speak? Yes, sir. Please come forward.
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ken Barmer. I live at 860 Getwell, 38651. I am directly across from this, and I see their sign out there so far up the hill. It's hidden by trees. You can't really see it that well from the road. And once you can look at it, you can't really read it. They kind of try to hide the sign, so to speak. I have some other issues. Bryce did a very good job, and also Mike. They actually took a few of my points, but people talk like, trucks can whip in here and whip out, get diesel and all this. The average size of a tractor trailer rig is 72 feet. I don't know if a lot of people realize that. It's a pretty good piece of machinery there. What's going to happen when you start packing up 18-wheelers, behind these pumps, and they come off the expressway 69 and come up there expecting to fill up, and there's already people in front of them? Are they going to start backing up on Getwell Road? That ain't going to happen. So you got to go down Getwell Road, I guess, and turn around and wait till there's a spot for them to get in there. A problem that I have also, the trucks cannot turn real sharply because they're that large of a vehicle. When they turn out back on the 69, they're going to cross over to oncoming traffic. You have to. They're a big truck. When they come into the facility, they're going to cross oncoming traffic. Bryce, Mike, all those guys see what happens on Getwell Road. Those people are speeding. Like he says, the only way they slow down to 45, that's the speed limit there, is if a sheriff deputy is there or Hernando Police Department is parked there at the church. If they see a squad car there, they'll slow down. They come off that hill heading south, and they don't ever put on their brakes. They're doing at least 60, and sometimes a lot faster than that. I can't imagine an 18-wheeler loaded, trying to pull in across traffic, getting into this facility that's proposed, and a concrete truck loaded, or a heavy dump truck loaded, coming off that hill. Everybody knows you load a dump truck or a concrete truck, you don't have near the stopping capabilities because of the weight, tremendous weight. It's okay with, it's not loaded, but when it's loaded, it changes a lot. I cannot imagine something happening like that. Another problem I have is a lot of these trucks carry hazardous material. We call them hazmat. I worked at a FedEx for 33 years, and I got, accustomed to learning about hazmat. Some of these things are really scary, what they can carry. Now, true, not every 18-wheeler is going to carry hazmat, but the driver has to be certified to be a hazmat operator, an operated vehicle that has hazmat material. Just to give you an idea, I know hazmat is kind of not really, people know a lot about it. It's some very dangerous stuff. I can allude to East Palestine, Ohio. Nobody's ever really heard of that place until February the 3rd, 2023. At that point, they had a derailment. Probably people now may remember it. 38 cars derailed, 2 caught on fire with hazardous material in them. Beside those cars that were on fire, 2 of them were on fire, they let that burn for over 2 days. The hazmat experts in the area decided they had vinyl chloride in 5 cars that were close to that burning, those 2 burning cars to the back. They decided to release the gas in those 5 cars. And the mixture of the burning hazmat in the back of the 2 cars and the vinyl chloride escaped in the air purposely has created a toxic mix of what's called a dioxin, and that is now determined to be a cancer-causing agent. Very concerned with hazmat. as I know, some people don't realize, airplanes can't carry everything. It's limited by the FAA, what they can carry safely. Some materials are restricted. Let me see if I can get my glasses here real quick. Excuse me a second. Restricted on aircraft, no explosives, flammable substances, liquids, oxygen, butane, propane, refrigerant gases, corrosive, organic peppercide, I didn't say it right, I don't think, live viruses, radioactive material, strong acids, pesticides, and herbicides, all restricted by the FAA for flight, and that's UPS, FedEx, and you. But guess what can carry those? 18-wheelers. Before the incident in East Palestine, Ohio, and actually still today, the rail line is still considered the safest way to transport dangerous chemicals and hazardous material from coast to coast, wherever, is still considered the safest. Trucking is down below there somewhere. Not quite as safe. I had a few specs here for you if you guys got the time for that. Hazmat material. There are over 3,200 hazmat cargo releases annually in access.
Expansion of Getwell Road, is that at all taken into consideration about where this is placed on the road? And Nick, can you talk to that?
So actually where this curb cuts, it's in the MDOT right-of-way section of the road.
Okay.
And this would require an MDOT permit for this curb cut, which would have to, any improvements that they would require, they would probably require a traffic study to be done, turning lane, turning in, turning radius just to verify that no trucks are crossing oncoming traffic in order to turn out. All that's got to be approved by MDOT before we can start work. And that's just too much work to do for rezoning. That always happens after the rezoning.
Right. Okay.
So any improvements now, of course, MDOT wouldn't require us to be held to the 5-lane standard, but they will require us to be held to make sure traffically it works from a traffic study standpoint.
Got it. Thank you.
What other questions does the board have? Any questions, concerns that need to be addressed before I call for a vote?
Jody, where do you think the next closest truck stop is, or fuel service center, or whatever you call this thing?
The closest
Diesel, is it
full-service
305?
diesel is probably the Pilot in Holly Springs. We did that. The main thing I want to phrase, also they talk about is, my presentation to the Planning Commission, I discussed 200 trucks a day. The 200 trucks a day is the verified loads that go into Associated Wholesale Grocers every day. The traffic is here. The big trucks are here. We've got 34,000 trips per day on I-269, 6,400 on Getwell. We had a planned unit development right down the road to get collections at Getwell. At Tullahoma, we have a C2. We have an M1 within 3 miles. There has been a change in the neighborhood, but there is a definite need here. My neighbor has an RV. He either has to fuel up when he's in Tupelo, in Arkansas, or at the Pilot in Holly Springs. There is not a place for people who have RVs in this community to get them refueled. The traffic is there. It's there. And we have made a good long-term plan here. We have a very well-designed C4 that will meet the city's needs and will create a precedent that prohibits wide-open C2 zoning. So we believe that there's a change in the neighborhood, but there is also an immediate need. There is no place for fuel services in here. And also by having the fuel trucks and commercial vehicles being refueled along I-269, that keeps it off of Commerce and I-55. That kind of diverts the traffic from our main city center. I hope that answers your questions, but I believe that we've proven that there's been a change in the neighborhood and there is a substantial need for this rezoning. Thanks.
Any other questions or concerns? If not, is there?
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Please come.
Can I speak on what he just spoke on?
Yeah, just please come up and address the
I
board.
will. Thank you, and I'm sorry I waited till the last minute.
That's okay.
My name is Vicki Wiseman. I live at 1060 Gilwell Road, which is directly across where they're going to have to put the drive going into this fuel stop. I would like to disagree with what was just said about Holly Springs being the closest place to get fuel. I've been in transportation for 40 years. I work at a trucking company in Nesbit, Mississippi. There is a diesel fuel stop on Pleasant Hill Road. It used to be called Wayne's Quick Stop. That's probably less than 2 miles from there. Because I know it's only 4 miles for me to go to work, and it's at the halfway point. There's also the Flying J in Olive Branch that sells diesel fuel. There's trucks that are going to buy fuel, and I like what you said, are not going to stop here at Getwell, so that the trucks are not, the traffic is more my concern. Yes, there are going to be trucks. Yes, there are trucks parked on the exit ramps and entrance ramps every single day. But the trucks are going to go to the Loves, to the Flying J, to the Pilots. They're not going to go to these mom and pop local truck stops, fuel stops. But I'm sure there will be some. Most of the trucks are going to go to the bigger truck stops. My concern is the traffic. It's already backed up to 269 every day afternoon when I'm coming home from work. And every morning when I'm leaving trying to get out of my driveway. And the school bus stops there to pick up my granddaughter every single morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, which by the way is black dark right now. So it's not, and there's already been a kid hit there. I mean, it's too much traffic on Getwell already. That's my only concern, is the influx of traffic that is going to be caused by putting something like that there. But they have plenty of places to go get diesel fuel. Plenty.
Thank you,
We already
Mr.
have
Wiseman.
enough of those local ones right around.
Thank you for that.
I'll make a quick rebuttal to that. Jim Anderson again, just to point out, I'm in agreement. I don't think you're going to see the truck traffic here that you're going to see other places. And she's right, there are some places at 78 and Olive Branch that they can fuel. There is 2 pumps at Pleasant Hill and McAvale. And, you know, we talk about traffic, and we just approved, y'all have approved Delta Landing and a gas station on the corner of McAvale and Pleasant Hill, and right in front of the school, and that's going to be a huge traffic increase in all of that area, and we have to handle it, right? That's just part of it. And I think it would be hypocritical to not approve this and make those other approvals.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. If there's no other discussion, is there a motion one way or the other from this board? And I do want to remind the board that if there is an approval, it requires a supermajority vote, which would mean 5 votes from this board tonight. Is there a motion? Is there a motion? Need a motion to affirm, deny, or table.
Here, I'll make a motion. I make a motion to deny a rezoning request by Jody Newman on behalf of Arthur W. Anderson Jr., owner of the property of 4.51 acres, identified as parcel number 207-833-000-0000201, located just west of Getwell Road North, east of McInville Road, and north of Interstate 269, situated in Section 33, Township 2 South, Range 7 West, from current zoning A Agricultural District to C4 Planned Commercial based upon the following findings, to include items 1, 2, and 3.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to deny. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderwoman Lynch,
Nay.
Alderman Miller,
Nay.
Alderman Robinson,
Aye.
Alderman Wicker,
Aye.
Alderwoman Ross,
Nay.
Alderman Piper,
Aye.
Alderman Harris.
Nay.
And the motion passes.
Hold it.
The motion to deny passed
Hold the vote.
4-3. And it required five affirmative votes to pass, so the motion to deny passed. Does that make sense? Everybody got that? Okay.
No,
No, I don't think so.
I don't think it did.
You have to have right, so you have to have supermajority to approve.
Right, but not to deny.
Not to deny.
Yeah.
That's correct.
This was upholding the
That is correct.
planning commission. Okay. All right, we will move on to item PL 18.
It was 4-3, correct?
4-3.
Sorry about that, I'm sorry.
Madam Clerk, will you affirm that for me?
4 to deny. 3 approved.
Okay. All right, is everyone clear?
I just want to make
Yes,
sure
sir.
everyone
Didn't you
understands.
vote nay?
I thought we had three, we had
Yes.
four.
No, I don't think that's
Four nays.
correct. We had
I
four
made the
nays.
motion to deny.
To deny.
And I voted nay. My motion is to deny, so my vote would be to deny. And I think I said
You meant to say
nay when I should have said yea in support of the denial.
Okay, so
So
it's
how
still
do I change
4-3.
my vote?
Okay. Yeah,
That's correct.
Right?
yeah.
That was my error. I made the motion to deny. I support that the motion to deny with a yea vote, not a nay vote.
So just so everyone understands, to overturn the planning commissioner's denial, to approve, you have to have a supermajority. To concur with the planning commission's denial, you did not. So 4-3 would be affirmed.
So the project was denied by a 4-3 vote. Okay, we'll move on to item 18, PL 1861.
All right, the next application is PL 1861. The request is a zoning map amendment from A agricultural to C2, highway commercial. Subject parcel is 18.75 acres at the southwest corner of Two-Lane Road and I-269. Ben Johnson's here tonight representing the owner of the property. His client, Wade Incorporated, is soliciting this C2 rezoning. The future land use map identifies this subject property as activity master plan commercial. Similar to last application, this is for modern, attractive, efficient retail, personal, and professional commercial facilities with access to needs that demand a location along major arterial roadways. There are full descriptions in your staff report, and it does give a general density of about 1 square foot of building floor area for every 1 square foot of site area. The same 3 approval or denial criteria items are included in your staff report, and the applicant did provide responses to each of those. With this being C2, this is base zoning, so anything in the C2 district would be allowed. This would still be subject to the design regulations, and so the next step, if approved tonight, would be a certificate of development and a subdivision process. And C2 would be regulated by the bulk requirements in the zoning ordinance. This was heard by the Planning Commission and recommended unanimously for approval. Generally about the site, you can see on the proposed plat, the frontage of the property is encumbered with an easement from Entergy on overhead power lines, and the southern boundary line of this parcel follows the creek that's on the property. And so this would be the hard corner of 269 and Two-Lane Road, roughly north of the creek for that 18 acres is the parcel that's in question. I did provide a comprehensive plan map and a surrounding parcel map to give you an idea of the general location of this property. Ben Johnson's here representing the application, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Austin, would they have to, just looking at the county map, and it may not be up to date, would they not have to subdivide this parcel?
They will.
Okay. But they can do that after the rezoning?
That's why we require the legal description in the plat, so we know exactly which piece of the parcel is being rezoned.
Okay, all right, gotcha.
Any other questions of Austin?
And just read, as you were reading to the minutes, your first staff comment for the record, if you would just read that into the minutes, please.
The request was recommended for approval by the planning commission.
No, your staff, on the staff comment, your first item in staff comment, if you will read that into the minute.
I think I might be under discussion.
Staff comments,
Number
the
one,
very number one, what did it say?
this request was recommended for approval by the planning commission.
No,
Where are you?
is this,
Because he's right here.
I'm on no. Okay. Six.
Okay, I see what
So
you're
this,
That's a different one.
yeah, I'm looking at it wrong.
Got it, got it,
All
got
right,
it. I get what you're saying, thank you.
I'm on my next one already.
Okay.
But this one is, everything is in line with that area and everything on this proposal, right?
This is in conformance with the comprehensive plan, yes, sir.
Why would they not, why would we not just zone this C4 like we've done some other ones?
I did ask the applicant that, and I might defer to him, but his answer was, they don't know the future whole plan. Wade Incorporated is proposing a move, and they felt that C2 would be appropriate for their move, and that's what they chose.
And just to point out something that I think everybody knows, in a C2 zone, if someone were to come back later and say, try to put up a service station there, that would still require conditional use to go through the board.
That's correct, yes, sir.
Any other questions? Would the applicant like to speak?
Mayor Johnson, members of the board, Ben Johnson, 850 Insight Park Drive, Oxford, or University of Mississippi. I'm a broker with Randall Commercial Group in Oxford, and I'm representing Wade Incorporated, an existing business here in Hernando, John Deere dealership. And the plan for this property is, it won't happen immediately, but ideally at some point in the next 3 to 5 years, to build a new dealership at that location, one better equipped to service the current size of the equipment. You know, everything's getting bigger and bigger, especially with the machinery. It's harder to service at that location, and they'd like more of a retail location somewhere where it's a little more visible, easier to get in and out. They like the idea of being along the interstate long term. So it's my understanding that the future land use of that property is commercial retail. And I want to point out again something that Austin mentioned about how it would lay out. It's 18.75 acres, but it's an unusual shape to the property. And we'll get Austin to pull it up now. But Energy has about a 5-acre easement across the front, which obviously we wouldn't be able to develop vertically. So we've looked at some preliminary layouts in the past, and we would probably be in that 10 to 15 acre range for the development. So, you know, this is the intended use is a single end user. We just don't know exactly how we're going to lay it out. We feel like this is enough room for us to do it, but there's no intention to go in and try to sell an acre or something like that. This would be a single end user for us here. So again, I feel like that use is appropriate. I think it would be a very nice use at that location, a 2-lane road. So I open up to the board for any questions or comments.
Now, what part of that is in the county that Ben was referring to?
Do I know? Sorry.
Didn't you say some of this was in the county?
No. I was just looking at the county land map, and when I pulled the parcel up, it was 94 acres, and I was just confused about the subdivision part.
Oh, okay, this is just.
I didn't know when that occurred in the process.
Gotcha, okay, sorry.
Any other questions for Mr. Johnson? Okay. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak on this topic? Okay. Any other questions at all from the board or discussion? Can I have a motion on the item?
Make a motion. Sure. Look at my notes in again. Make a motion to approve the rezoning of an 18.75 acre parcel of land from its current zoning in a agricultural district to C2 highway commercial. This subject property, parcel number 2088330000000101, is located on the southwest corner of Tulane Road and I-69 interchange in section 33, township 2, south, range 8, based upon the following finding, 1, 2, 3. Second.
It's a motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Alderman Harris.
Aye.
Alderwoman Lynch.
Aye.
Alderman Miller.
Aye.
Alderman Robinson.
Aye.
Alderman Wicker.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ross.
Aye.
Alderman Piper.
Aye.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I also want to mention too, what a big help Austin has been with this, trying to figure out the utility situation and what's coming up there in the future. So I just want to make that comment. We really appreciate your help.
Thank you. Okay, Austin, item 19, PL 1862, Delta Landing Phase 2 residential.
Yes, sir. This is PL 1862. The request is for final plat approval in Delta Landing Phase 2 residential. On the west side of McInville, south of Pleasant Hill. Nick Krug with Civil Link is representing the owner and representing the application tonight. As you know, a few months ago, we approved the Phase 1 plat that included a substantial number of single-family lots. This is Phase 2 of that same residential phase of the subdivision on the southern boundary line for the townhome developments along the lake. A brief history of the zoning is in your staff report. This was originally approved in 2007 and then revised and approved on March 7th, 2023. The bulk requirements are listed in your staff report for setbacks and encroachment allowances. This is straight from the PUD text, which governs everything in this piece of property. And also with that PUD zoning, that did serve as the preliminary plat. And so Alderman Miller, this proposal does substantially conform to the preliminary submittal that was in that PUD. And I did include a quick exhibit on this page here that shows you the scale of where this is within the development and how it does substantially conform with where it is within the parcel as a whole. The conditions I've included in my staff report are standard conditions and covers all of our sidewalks, utility installations, and bonding requirements for all those improvements. And it's 1 through 10, just our standard criteria. And I did include a proposed motion in your staff report as well. Nick's here tonight, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Any questions? For either Nick or Austin? If not, is there a motion?
Mayor, I motion to grant final plat approval for Delta Landing Phase 2 subdivision consisting of 16 single-family residential lots and 2 common open space on 3.37 acres west of McInville Road and south of Pleasant Hill Road in Section 31, Township 2, South, Range 7, based upon the finding that the submitted final plat generally conforms to the requirements of the city's code and ordinances subject to the following conditions 1 through 10.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Motion passes. Item 20, PL 1863.
Yes, sir. 1863 is final plat approval of the first revision of Anderson Minor subdivision. The request is for 2 lots on 6.59 total acres. Mr. Kendrick is here tonight representing the owner of the property. Robbie Jones was the original applicant who drew the plat. The subject property is on the south side of Pleasant Hill Road, west of Getwell. The original plat that this is requesting to revise was approved on May 3rd, 1979. It was 1 lot on 6.59 acres. The request is to basically split that in half. 1 lot would be 3.578 acres, and lot 2 will be 3 acres. Both lots will have direct access to Pleasant Hill Road, and there is no sanitary sewer on site, so individual on-site systems would be required to be approved by the health department, and centralized city water is available to the site. The bulk requirements are the same in the AR district, since this is not a rezoning, this is simply a subdivision. And so all the lots that are shown on the plat either meet or exceed all those requirements on setback, lot size, lot width, and the building height would be caught on the building permit. No restrictive covenants are proposed. And you can see on the proposed plat that lot 2 would house or would encompass all the structures on the lot. Lot 1 would be available for a building permit if approved tonight. The next phase of this would be to submit a Mylar to our department for recording. And there are less standard conditions on this one because there are no public utilities, sidewalks, or anything out there. So the only thing we included was 1 through 4 to keep the rural cross-section required, as what you see out there along Gilwell Road, or excuse me, Pleasant Hill Road. Mr. Kendrick's here tonight, and I'm available if you got any questions.
Are there any questions? Don't see any questions. Mr. Kendrick, did you want to speak, or?
Mark Kendrick, Lamar, Mississippi. I'm here representing my mom. I graduated from Hernando High School in '91. Grew up, been here all my life. But the reason we're just looking to look at splitting the land is my son wants to build a house on the Lot 1, and basically kind of just be there to help look over my mom. My father passed away a couple years ago, so it's just my mom, and we'd love for him to be able to build a house there and watch over her. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other discussion, is there a motion?
Mayor, I motion to grant final plat approval to First Revision of Anderson Minor subdivision located on the south side of Pleasant Hill Road, west of Gilwell Road, based upon a finding that the submitted plat generally conforms to the requirements of the city's code and ordinance, subject to the following standard conditions 1 through 4.
Second. Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, no. That motion passes. All right, item 21 is the approval to release the $15,000 bond for Winningham Estates, Section B, that was tabled at the last meeting. Joe Frank, would you like to? I guess you presented it at the last meeting.
Okay, I think it was tabled on the issue of the trees, and I think that's been worked out.
We're still kind of discussing it, but I think for this matter, it's okay.
And I think what we determined was that the tree discussion is really not part of the bond. The bond did not cover any tree planting. So it would probably be our duty to release the bond, because all the things that were in the bond have been satisfied. Is that correct, Joe Frank?
Yes, what he said. Yeah.
So is there a motion to approve the release?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes. Item 22, Jennifer Baker wanted to address the board about a utility adjustment. And I think you have a statement that was handed to you before the meeting from Mr. Germany about that. But you want to start, and then we'll let Mr. Baker come up?
Just got a quick handout, just basically going down the list of everything that we performed with the residents, communication we've had. You go to the second page, or the third page rather. If you look at the consumption number, you look at that references the months on the left. It's just a snapshot of the bills. And then, of course, after that page, this is what we call a history. It's what we pull off of our electronic meters. Gives a trend of the water usage. If anybody has a question, I'm more than happy to answer.
And you denied this request?
Just because there was not a leak inside the house, or I'm sorry, outside the house. There was not a leak anywhere that we found.
Okay. And that's in accordance with the policy the board gives?
That's correct. We had to go that route to get it to where we are today, but unfortunately we had to deny it because there was not no one could find a leak.
And if we go back and look at the history, I think about a year and a half or 2 years ago, we had something similar to happen where that we had a homeowner, almost identical situation, that brought in a professional expert to check the system. I can't remember the young lady's name, but it was a young lady, and I think we dealt with that for about 2 or 3 meetings before we came to a final resolution. And that we did approve the adjustment, even though we could not find credible evidence either way. We knew that we found out there wasn't no leak there available. But the bill still was extremely high. And we couldn't find no rhyme or reason, and that individual also had people to come out and check her system, and I think we according to this, we got the same thing on this one, where a company here came out and inspected the system. And with your, Lee, you can stay up there, and with your information, that over the history of that, when you checking it without electronic read, did it show high usage or something, or what did it show?
It did. It showed high usage on our August read. After we read all of the meters in the city, we generate a high list and a low list, we call it, which is basically anything that flags our system as a high usage compared to what they've normally used. We go out to the house, we leave a tag on the door saying, hey, check these items. Can't find anything, please give us a call.
And then the months after that, was it high or low after then?
The bill went down, yes, sir. It was high and,
Went down a
looks
lot.
like it went up, but then it went back down, and then we.
And do you remember the cases I'm talking about? And it was the same reason, because of what the policy that we have in place, you could not approve that from, at your level, it had to come to the board in
That's
order for
correct.
the board to take the necessary action taken. And this, to me, this homeowner has did everything I think that they could do to state that this was and some things just happen. I mean, we just can't figure out why it happened. But I think that,
What's the difference when if we were to approve the, money, how much are we talking about?
677.92 was the adjustment according to the information that we have.
That's our average bill over the 6 months prior or whatever?
Yes, sir. We take the last 5 or 6 months, average those out, and that gives you an average bill.
But
Of course,
still,
we
no
don't
reason.
include we don't include the high bill in that, so it's not.
Still no reason for these high payment, these high water usage.
And based upon Alderman, Rob, do y'all remember the case that we had about?
I remember what you're talking about.
We bounced it up and down for several meetings.
Yes, sir, I remember.
And I don't think we need to do the same thing with this. And some things just unexplainable.
Ms. Baker, did you want to speak? Yes, please come up.
I live alone. I have 2 dogs. This is just a mystery because at some of these times, I'm asleep. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And in the, summer months, I watered the grass a lot, way more than the usage that this reflects. So it just doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. I've hired American Leak Detection. They came out, they didn't find a leak. I hired another plumbing company. They came out, there were no leaks found. And since the city replaced, the water department replaced the meter, they took my old one away, replaced it with a new one. It seemed to go back to normal. According to them, they've put the old one back in. So I don't know. It's just a huge mystery, and so I'm requesting that you can adjust my bill to where it normally is.
Any questions from the board or a motion?
I can clarify on that too. We did pull the meter out, but that was just while we could test it on our test bench at the shop, and then we put the original meter back in there. So I didn't think I just didn't want to make it seem like we took it out and just discarded it and put a new one in there. That was just
You didn't find any issue with the meter?
No, sir. It was 98% accurate.
And another thing for sure, they can only request adjustment how many times? One time, so, I mean, it's that one shot. Right?
I'll make a motion for the adjustment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. And that motion passes. We'll work with you, Ms. Baker. Item 23 is the normal utility adjustment docket.
Motion.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. That motion passes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, no. We are now.
You can get a nay on that one.